I stared at my phone screen, reading the text message for the third time. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. The message was from an unknown number, just 8 words that would change everything. Your husband is cheating on you. Check his phone. My heart was pounding like a drum in my chest. Part of me wanted to delete the message and pretend I never saw it. The other part, the part that had been noticing little things for months, knew I had to look. I sat on our gray sofa in our beautiful apartment, the afternoon sun streaming through the windows, and felt my perfect life starting to crack apart. My name is Amara, and I'm 34 years old. I work as a marketing director for a tech company downtown. My husband Marcus and I have been married for 8 years. We met in college, fell in love over late-night study sessions and cheap pizza, and built a life together. He's a financial advisor with his own growing firm. We have a nice apartment, 2 cars, and we've been talking about starting a family. Or at least, I thought we were happy. Looking back now, I can see all the signs I ignored. The late nights at the office, the phone calls he took in another room, the way he started dressing better, wearing cologne he never wore before, the distance between us in bed. I told myself he was just stressed about work. I made excuses because I didn't want to see the truth. But that text message changed everything. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I grabbed my laptop and opened it. Marcus and I shared a cloud account for our photos and documents. It was something we set up years ago when we got our first smartphones together. We never thought to change it. Why would we? We trusted each other. I went to the message backup folder. My stomach was tight with dread. Part of me hoped I wouldn't find anything. Part of me already knew I would. I scrolled through his text messages from the past 3 months. Most were boring. Work stuff. Messages to his friend Devin about watching the game. Text to his mom. Then I saw it. A thread with someone saved as Coach Mike. Except Coach Mike was not a coach. Coach Mike sent heart emojis. Coach Mike sent messages late at night, saying she missed him. Coach Mike sent photos that made my cheeks burn with shame and anger. I felt sick. I kept reading, even though each message felt like a knife in my heart. They had been seeing each other for 6 months. 6 months of lies. 6 months of him kissing me goodbye in the morning and then going to meet her. 6 months of him coming home and looking me in the eyes and pretending everything was fine. The messages told a whole story. They met at some work conference in Miami. They started texting. He told her he was unhappy in his marriage. He told her I didn't understand him. He told her they had a special connection. All the stupid, predictable things cheating husbands say. But here's the thing that made my blood run cold. In one message from 2 weeks ago, she said something that caught my attention. She wrote, "I can't wait until we can stop sneaking around. When are you going to tell her? I'm tired of pretending at work." At work. They worked together. This wasn't some random woman he met at a bar. This was someone from his office, someone who probably knew about me, someone who made the choice to do this anyway. I felt rage building in my chest like a fire. I kept scrolling, looking for more clues about who she was. Finally, I found it. He slipped up in one message. He called her by her real name, Tasha. My hands froze on the keyboard. Tasha. There was only one Tasha at Marcus's firm. Tasha Coleman, his new office manager who started 6 months ago. I had met Tasha. She came to our apartment once for a work event Marcus hosted. She was pretty in her late 20s, with a bright smile and a bubbly personality. She had complimented our home. She had shaken my hand. She had looked me right in my eyes and smiled, knowing she was sleeping with my husband. The thought made me want to throw up. I closed the laptop and sat in silence for a long time. The apartment suddenly felt too quiet. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. I could hear my own breathing. I felt like I was underwater, everything muffled and distant. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted to cry. But mostly I felt a cold, clear anger settling into my bones. I wasn't going to fall apart. I wasn't going to confront him in tears and give him the chance to lie to my face. No, I was going to be smart about this. I was going to gather evidence. I was going to protect myself. And then when the time was right, I was going to make sure both of them understood exactly what they had done. I spent the next 2 hours taking screenshots of everything. Every message, Every photo, every lie. I uploaded them all to a private folder only I could access. Then I cleared my search history and closed the laptop. When Marcus came home that evening, I greeted him with a smile and asked how his day was. He kissed my cheek and said it was fine, just busy. He smelled like cologne I didn't recognize. We ate dinner together like nothing was wrong. We talked about our days. We watched TV on the couch. The whole time, I was watching him, really seeing him for the first time in months. This man I had trusted with my whole heart. This man I had built a life with. He was a stranger. And sitting next to him, pretending everything was normal, was the hardest thing I've ever done. That night, lying in bed next to him, listening to him snore, I made my plan. I wasn't going to be the heartbroken wife. I wasn't going to let them get away with this. I was going to be strategic. I was going to be patient. And I was going to make sure justice was served. The next morning, I called in sick to work. As soon as Marcus left for his office, I got dressed in my best business suit and drove downtown. I had an appointment at a law firm that specialized in divorce cases. My friend Keisha from college had recommended them when she went through her divorce last year. She said they were tough and smart. That's exactly what I needed. The lawyer's name was Patricia Chun. She was in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. Her office was on the 20th floor of a glass tower with a view of the whole city. She offered me coffee and sat across from her big wooden desk. I'll never forget what she said after I showed her all the evidence. She looked up from her laptop, where she had been reviewing the screenshots, and smiled. This smile wasn't friendly. It was the smile of a hunter who just spotted prey. She said, "Mrs. Davis, you've done excellent work here. This is a very strong case. Your husband won't know what hit him." We spent 2 hours going over everything. Patricia explained Georgia's divorce laws to me. She told me about asset division, about proving adultery, about protecting my interests. She asked me detailed questions about our finances, our property, our accounts. I answered everything as honestly as I could. Here's what I learned. Marcus and I had a joint checking account, but most of our real money was in investments and retirement accounts in his name. We owned the apartment together, but he had put down most of the down payment. I had a good job, but he made about twice what I made. If we divorced and split everything 50-50, I would be okay, but not great. But Patricia told me something very interesting. In Georgia, if you can prove adultery, the cheating spouse can be penalized in the division of assets. The wrong spouse can get more than half, sometimes a lot more, especially if we could prove he spent marital funds on his affair. Those fancy dinners, that jewelry I saw in the messages, the hotel rooms, all of that came from our shared money. Patricia pulled out a yellow legal pad and started making a list. She said, "Here's what we're going to do. First, we need bank statements. Everyone for the past year. I need to see where the money's been going. Second, we need more evidence of the affair. Photos of them together outside of work. Witnesses who can testify they saw them together. Third, we need to secure your personal assets. Do you have any accounts in just your name?" I shook my head. We had always shared everything. That was my mistake. Patricia frowned but continued. "Okay, we'll open a new account today in just your name. Start moving some money there. Not too much at once. We don't want to tip him off, but enough to make sure you have funds if this gets ugly." We talked about timing. Patricia said I shouldn't tell Marcus anything yet. She said the element of surprise was crucial. She said we needed at least 2 more weeks to gather everything we needed and get our legal strategy in place. Then, when we were ready, we would serve him with divorce papers. At work. In front of everyone. Including Tasha. I left Patricia's office feeling stronger than I had in days. I had a plan. I had a lawyer. I had evidence. Now I just needed patience. The hardest part would be going home every day and pretending I didn't know. Sleeping next to him. Making dinner. Acting like a wife to a man who had betrayed me in the worst way possible. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a spy in my own life. I smiled when Marcus left for work, then immediately started my research. I went through our bank statements online and took screenshots of every suspicious charge. Dinner at that Italian place downtown we never went to together. Hotel room in Buckhead. Purchase at a jewelry store where he definitely didn't buy me anything. I opened a new checking account at a different bank under my maiden name. I started transferring small amounts. 300 here, 500 there. Nothing big enough to trigger alerts, but enough to build up a safety net. I also gathered all our important documents: marriage certificate, property deed, his business partnership papers. I made copies of everything and stored them at Keisha's house. But I didn't just gather evidence. I also started preparing for my new life. I looked at apartment listings online. I updated my resume. I reached out to a few headhunters about new job opportunities, not because I planned to leave my current job, but because I wanted options. I wanted to know I could support myself, no matter what happened. The whole time, Marcus had no idea. He came home every evening and found dinner ready, the apartment clean, and a smiling wife. We talked about normal things. We watched movies together. We even had date night at our favorite Mexican restaurant. He held my hand across the table and told me he loved me. I smiled and said it back, all while knowing exactly what he was doing behind my back. It was during this time that I realized something important. I didn't just want a divorce. I didn't just want to split our assets and move on with my life. I wanted them to hurt the way they hurt me. I wanted consequences, not just for Marcus, but for Tasha too. She knew he was married. She made a choice to sleep with someone's husband. She came to my home and smiled in my face. That took a special kind of cruelty. I started thinking about Tasha more and more. What kind of person does something like this? What was she thinking? Did she feel guilty at all, or did she just not care? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Marcus was wrong for cheating, absolutely. But Tasha wasn't some innocent victim. She was a willing participant. She was just as guilty as he was. That's when I came up with the second part of my plan. I wasn't just going to divorce Marcus. I was going to make sure Tasha faced consequences too. And I knew exactly how to do it. See, I remembered something from that work event at our apartment. Tasha had mentioned she was engaged. Her fiancé was some guy named Brandon who worked in construction. She showed us photos on her phone of her ring. She talked about their wedding plans. So Tasha was a cheater too. She wasn't just sleeping with my husband. She was betraying her own fiancé. That made her even worse in my mind. At least Marcus and I didn't have kids yet. But Tasha and her fiancé were planning a whole future together, and she was throwing it away for an affair with a married man. I did some research online. I found Tasha's social media profiles. They weren't hard to find. She posted everything publicly. Her Instagram was full of photos with her fiancé Brandon. They looked happy together. Beach vacations, Sunday brunch, cute couple selfies, all while she was sneaking around with my husband. The hypocrisy was stunning. I found Brandon's profile too. He seemed like a decent guy. Big smile, lots of photos of him at work sites with his construction crew. Photos of him and Tasha at family gatherings. He clearly loved her, and he had no idea what she was doing, just like I had no idea about Marcus for so long. In a weird way, Brandon and I were both victims of the same two people. I thought about reaching out to Brandon. Part of me wanted to warn him. Part of me wanted him to know what kind of person he was planning to marry. But Patricia advised against it. She said, "Let's focus on your case first. We can deal with the fallout for others later. Right now, we need to protect you and secure your interests." So I waited. I gathered more evidence. I watched and learned and prepared. Marcus started staying out later. He said he was working on a big client account. I smiled and said I understood. Meanwhile, I was checking our bank statements and seeing charges for hotel rooms on those same late nights. The lies were so obvious now that I was looking for them. Finally, after 2.5 weeks, Patricia called me. She said, "We're ready. I have everything I need. Tomorrow, we're going to serve him with divorce papers. Do you want to be there?" I thought about it for a long moment. Part of me wanted to see his face when he got served, but a bigger part of me wanted to be far away. I wanted him to be humiliated publicly without me there to witness it. I wanted him to know I was done with him before he even had a chance to try to explain or apologize or make excuses. "No," I told Patricia. "Serve him at his office. At lunchtime when the whole staff is there. I want Tasha to see it too. I want everyone to see it." Patricia laughed. "Savage. I like it. I'll have the process server go at noon tomorrow. In the meantime, you need to decide where you're going to stay. I don't recommend going home tomorrow night. He's going to be angry, and angry people do stupid things. She was right. I called Keisha and asked if I could stay with her for a few days. She said yes immediately, no questions asked. Then I went home and packed a bag while Marcus was at work. Clothes for a week. My laptop. Important documents. Photos of my parents. I left the bag in my car trunk, ready to go. That night at dinner, I looked across the table at Marcus one last time as his wife. Tomorrow, everything would change. The next day, I went to work like normal. I sat through morning meetings. I answered emails. All the while, my stomach was tight with anticipation. I kept checking my phone. At 11:55 a.m., Patricia texted me. Process server is there. Any minute now. I couldn't focus on anything. I pretended to read a report on my computer screen, but the words blurred together. At 12:03 p.m., Patricia texted again. Done. It's served. He's been notified. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. It was done. There was no going back now. I felt a weird mix of emotions. Relief, fear, sadness, but mostly I felt powerful. I had taken control. I had stopped being a victim and started being a woman who demanded respect. My phone rang 15 minutes later. It was Marcus. I stared at it for a long moment, watching it vibrate on my desk. Then I declined the call. He called again. I declined again. He sent a text. Amara, what is this? Why are you doing this? Call me now. We need to talk. I didn't respond. Patricia had told me not to engage with him directly. All communication needed to go through lawyers now. Marcus called 5 more times over the next hour. Then the calls stopped. Later, I would find out what happened during those hours, but in the moment, I just focused on getting through my workday. I left the office at 5 and drove straight to Keisha's house. She met me at the door with a hug and a glass of wine. Girl, she said, you are so brave. I'm so proud of you. We sat on her couch and I told her everything. The text message, the evidence, the lawyer, the plan. She listened without interrupting, her eyes getting wider and wider. When I finished, she whistled long and low. Damn, you really went full spy mode on him. He never saw it coming. That's exactly what I wanted, I said. He took me for granted. He thought I was too trusting to ever find out. Too naive. Too devoted. Well, surprise. I'm not any of those things anymore. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. My heart jumped. Was it Marcus using a different phone? I opened it carefully, but it wasn't Marcus. The message said, Is this Amara? This is Brandon Mitchell, Tasha's fiancé. We need to talk. I stared at the message, not sure how to respond. How did he get my number? What did he know? I showed Keisha the phone. She grabbed it and read the message, then looked up at me. Oh damn. The plot thickens. What are you going to do? I don't know, I admitted. Patricia said not to talk to anyone without her approval. But I kind of want to hear what he has to say. He deserves to know the truth, doesn't he? Keisha nodded slowly. Yeah, he does. But be careful. You don't know this guy. He might be angry. He might blame you somehow. Men do stupid things when they're hurt and embarrassed. She had a point. But something told me Brandon wasn't going to blame me. I texted Patricia first and asked if it was okay to talk to him. She called me back immediately. Who gave him your number? I don't know. Well, find out. And if you talk to him, be careful what you say. Record the conversation if you can. We might need it later. And Amara? Don't meet him in person. Phone only from a safe location. Understand? I understood. I texted Brandon back. How did you get my number? His response came quickly. Tasha's phone. I found text messages with your husband. I found your name in his contacts. I put 2 and 2 together. Please, I just want to understand what happened. Did you know about them? I felt sorry for him. He sounded lost and confused, just like I had felt 2 weeks ago when I found out. I called him, with Keisha sitting right next to me and the phone on speaker. A man's voice answered after 2 rings. Hello. This is Amara, I said. You wanted to talk. There was a long pause. Then, Thank you for calling me. I know this is weird. I'm sorry to contact you like this. I just found out today that Tasha and your husband have been sleeping together. I had no idea. I feel like an idiot. His voice was thick with emotion. I could tell he was trying not to cry. I felt a pang of sympathy. I know how you feel, I said softly. I found out 2 weeks ago. I had no idea either. They were really good at hiding it. How did you find out? He asked. I told him about the anonymous text message, the cloud account, the screenshots. I told him I had hired a lawyer and served Marcus with divorce papers that day. As I talked, I could hear Brandon breathing heavily on the other end. When I finished, there was silence for a long moment. I can't believe this, he finally said. Tasha and I were supposed to get married in 4 months. We've been together for 3 years. We just bought a house together. And she threw it all away for some married guy old enough to be her father? What was she thinking? I don't think she was thinking at all, I said. I think she just wanted what she wanted and didn't care who got hurt. Did you know she was engaged when she started the affair? Brandon asked. His voice had an edge now. Did she ever mention me? I met her once, at a work thing at our apartment. She mentioned her fiancé and showed us photos of her ring. That's the only time I saw her before all this. So she came to your house? She met you and smiled in your face. Knowing she was sleeping with your husband? Brendan's voice rose. That's sick. That's really sick. I know, I said. That's partly why I'm so angry. It's not just the affair. It's the sneaking around, the lying, the complete lack of respect for anyone else's feelings. Both of them are selfish and cruel. We talked for another 20 minutes. Brandon told me he had confronted Tasha that afternoon after finding the messages on her phone. She had been texting Marcus, trying to figure out what was happening after the divorce papers got served. Brandon saw Marcus's name pop up and got suspicious. He grabbed her phone and found everything. Tasha had cried and apologized. She said it meant nothing. She said Marcus had pursued her, that she tried to stop it, but he was persistent. Brandon didn't believe a word. He told her to pack her things and get out of their house. She was staying with a friend now. The wedding was canceled. Their house would have to be sold. I'm sorry you're going through this, I told him honestly. It's not fair. You didn't deserve any of this. Neither did you, he said. But I'll tell you something. Tasha is about to have a very bad day. I called her boss at the financial firm. I told him everything. I told him his office manager was sleeping with one of his advisors. I told him it was creating a hostile work environment and possibly violating company policy. He said he would look into it. I felt a surge of satisfaction. Brandon had done exactly what I would have done if I had thought of it. Good, I said. She should face consequences at work too. She can't just walk away from this like nothing happened. She won't, Brandon said grimly. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what kind of person she really is. Her friends, her family, everyone. She embarrassed me. She made me look like a fool. So now everyone gets to know the truth. After we hung up, I sat back on Keisha's couch and felt a strange sense of camaraderie with Brandon. We were both victims of the same two selfish people. And now we were both fighting back. I texted Patricia to update her on the conversation. She responded with a thumbs up emoji and 4 words, "This keeps getting better." The next few days were a blur. Marcus called and texted constantly, begging me to talk to him. His messages went from apologetic to angry to desperate and back again. Amara, please. This is all a misunderstanding. Let me explain. Amara, you're being ridiculous. We can work this out. Amara, I love you. Don't do this to us. I didn't respond to any of it. I had said everything I needed to say in the divorce papers. Patricia had made sure they were thorough. We were asking for 60% of all marital assets, including the apartment, both cars, and most of the investment accounts. We were claiming he had wasted marital funds on his affair. We had bank statements to prove it. Over $10,000 spent on hotels, dinners, gifts for Tasha over the past 6 months. Marcus's lawyer called Patricia and tried to negotiate. Patricia shut him down immediately. She said, "Your client cheated on his wife for 6 months with a coworker. He spent thousands of their joint money on his mistress. He lied repeatedly. My client has evidence of all of it. So unless you want me to make this even uglier in court, I suggest you accept our terms." I heard through the grapevine that Marcus was panicking. He tried to access our joint checking account and found out I had already moved most of the money to my new account. He tried to cancel credit cards and found out I had already gotten my own cards. Every move I made, I was one step ahead of him. Every trick he tried, I had already anticipated it. And Tasha's life was falling apart too. Brandon told me that her boss at the financial firm had launched an internal investigation. He interviewed several employees who confirmed they had seen Tasha and Marcus acting inappropriately at work, staying late together, going to lunch together, whispering in corners. One employee said she walked in on them kissing in the break room. The company had a strict policy against romantic relationships between employees, especially ones that could create conflicts of interest. Marcus was a financial advisor who brought in major clients. Tasha was the office manager who had access to client files and sensitive information. Their relationship was a liability. The company decided to fire Tasha immediately. They put Marcus on probation and warned him one more incident would end his employment too. I heard about all this through Brandon, who was keeping me updated via text. He seemed to take satisfaction in every new piece of bad news for Tasha. I understood the feeling. When you've been wronged, seeing the person who hurt you face consequences feels like justice. About a week after the divorce papers were served, I got another anonymous text message. This one said, "You should check Marcus's other phone." Other phone? I texted back, "What other phone?" The response came quickly. The burner phone he uses to talk to women. Check his car. Under the driver's seat. I didn't know who was texting me, but they clearly knew something. I asked Keisha to drive me to the apartment while Marcus was at work. I had a key to his car, which was parked in our building's garage. My heart was pounding as I unlocked it and reached under the driver's seat. My fingers touched something hard and plastic. I pulled it out. A cheap prepaid flip phone. I turned it on. The battery was low, but it had enough charge to show me what I needed to see. The call log. The text messages. This phone wasn't just for Tasha. There were 3 other women's names in there. Ashley, Jennifer, Nina, all with recent messages. All with flirty, inappropriate content. I sat in Marcus's car, holding this phone, and realized the affair with Tasha wasn't a one-time mistake. Marcus had been cheating on me with multiple women for who knows how long. He was a serial cheater. Tasha was just the most recent. Or maybe not even the most recent. Maybe she was just the one he got caught with. I took photos of every message, every call log, everything on that phone. Then I put it back exactly where I found it and left. I sent all the photos to Patricia immediately. She called me within minutes, her voice tight with anger on my behalf. "Amara, this changes things. This isn't just adultery. This is a pattern of behavior. We can use this to push for even more in the settlement. He's a habitual cheater. The court will not look kindly on this." I felt numb. Part of me had hoped Marcus's affair with Tasha was a stupid mistake, a moment of weakness, something that could almost be understood if not forgiven. But this was who he was. A liar, a cheater, someone who couldn't be faithful if his life depended on it. Our entire marriage had been built on lies. That night, lying in Keisha's guest bed, I cried for the first time since finding out about the affair. Not because I missed Marcus, not because I wanted him back, but because I was mourning the person I thought he was. The man I fell in love with in college. The man who held my hand at my father's funeral. The man who promised to love me forever. That man never existed. He was always a lie. The divorce proceedings moved quickly after that. With all the evidence Patricia had, Marcus's lawyer advised him to settle rather than go to court. Marcus would be destroyed in front of a judge. His reputation would be ruined. His business could suffer. Better to give me what I wanted and move on quietly. We settled on terms that gave me 70% of our assets. The apartment was sold and I got most of the proceeds. I got the newer car. I got the majority of the retirement accounts. Marcus was also required to pay my legal fees, which were substantial. In total, I walked away with about $500,000 and no husband. It was more than fair. It was justice. Marcus tried to talk to me once during the settlement process. We were both at the lawyer's office signing papers. He pulled me aside in the hallway. His eyes were red, like he hadn't slept. His suit was wrinkled. He looked nothing like the confident man I had married. Amara, he said, I need you to know I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I was stupid and selfish, and I ruined the best thing in my life. If I could take it back, I would. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I said, You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. And even if you were truly sorry, it wouldn't change anything. You destroyed my trust. You destroyed our marriage. You destroyed any future we could have had. So your apologies mean nothing to me. Sign the papers and stay out of my life. He opened his mouth to say something else, but I walked away. I didn't owe him anything. Not my time. Not my forgiveness. Not another second of my life. I signed the divorce papers with Patricia by my side and walked out of that office a free woman. But I wasn't done yet. I still had one more thing to handle. Tasha. See, Tasha had lost her job, her fiancé, and her reputation. But in my mind, she hadn't faced real consequences yet. She hadn't faced me. She hadn't had to look me in the eye and acknowledge what she had done. I wanted that. I needed that. I found out through Brandon where Tasha was working now. She had gotten a job as a receptionist at a car dealership across town. It was a major downgrade from her previous position, but it was all she could get with her tarnished reputation. Her former boss had made sure word got around about why she was fired. I drove to the dealership on a Saturday afternoon. I didn't have a plan exactly. I just knew I needed to see her. I needed to say what I needed to say. I walked into the bright, modern showroom with its shiny new cars and found Tasha sitting at the front desk, typing on a computer. She looked up when I approached. Her smile faltered when she recognized me. Can I help you? She asked, her voice uncertain. We need to talk, I said. Somewhere private. She glanced around nervously, then stood up. There's a conference room in the back. Follow me. We walked through the showroom in silence. I could feel other employees watching us, curious. Tasha led me to a small glass-walled conference room and closed the door. We stood facing each other. She looked scared. Good. I know you probably hate me, she started, but I held up my hand to stop her. I don't hate you, I said, my voice calm and cold. Hate requires passion. It requires caring about someone enough to feel strongly about them. I don't care about you at all. You're nothing to me. But I came here to tell you something, and you're going to listen. She nodded, her eyes wide. You made a choice, I continued. You chose to sleep with a married man. You chose to come to my home and smile in my face. You chose to lie to your fiancé. You chose to risk your career. And now you're dealing with the consequences of those choices. Your job is gone. Your fiancé is gone. Your reputation is destroyed. And you know what? You earned every bit of it. Tears started rolling down Tasha's face. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I was stupid. I thought I was in love with him. I thought he was going to leave you for me. He told me your marriage was over. He told me you didn't love each other anymore. I laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. And you believed him? You really thought a man who would cheat on his wife would be honest with his mistress? You really thought you were special? Let me tell you something, Tasha. I found his other phone. You weren't the only one. There were at least 3 other women. You were just one of many. So, whatever you thought you had with him, it was a lie. Her face went pale. There were others? Yes, and there will be more after you. Because Marcus is a cheater. That's who he is. It's what he does. And you fell for it like every other stupid woman who thinks she can change a man. Tasha sat down heavily in one of the conference room chairs. She was crying harder now, her makeup running down her face. I lost everything, she sobbed. My job. My fiancé. My friends. My family won't even talk to me. Everyone thinks I'm this terrible person. And for what? For a man who was using me the whole time. Yes, I said simply. That's exactly right. You lost everything. And I don't feel bad for you at all. Because you knew what you were doing was wrong. You knew I existed. You knew he was married. You could have said no at any time. But you didn't. So now you get to live with what you've done. I turned to leave, but Tasha called out, Wait, please, I need to know. How do you do it? How do you deal with all of this and still seem so strong? Don't you hurt? Don't you cry? I looked back at her. Of course I hurt. Of course I cried. But then I stopped crying and I started fighting. I didn't let what you and Marcus did destroy me. I let it make me stronger. I took control. I protected myself. And I made sure both of you faced consequences. That's how I dealt with it. By refusing to be a victim. I left the dealership and didn't look back. Driving home, I felt lighter than I had in months. The confrontation with Tasha had given me closure. I had said what I needed to say. I had looked her in the eye and made sure she understood the full weight of what she had done. Now I could truly move forward. Over the next few months, I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I moved into a beautiful new apartment, smaller than the one Marcus and I shared, but all mine. I decorated it exactly how I wanted, with bright colors and art that I loved. I bought new furniture. I hosted dinner parties for friends. I started taking salsa dancing classes on Thursday nights. I also got promoted at work. My boss had noticed how focused and dedicated I'd become during the divorce. He promoted me to senior director with a significant pay raise. Between that and the settlement money, I was financially secure in a way I never had been before. Brandon and I stayed in touch. We became unlikely friends, bonded by our shared experience. He eventually started dating someone new, a teacher he met through mutual friends. He said she was kind and honest, everything Tasha wasn't. I was happy for him. As for Marcus and Tasha, I heard through the grapevine that they tried to make a real relationship work after everything fell apart. It lasted about 3 months before they broke up. Turns out when your entire relationship is built on lies and sneaking around, it doesn't work so well in the real world. Marcus tried to rebuild his financial advisory business, but several clients left him after word got out about the affair and the divorce. Karma has a funny way of catching up with people. 1 year after I signed those divorce papers, I was sitting in my apartment on a Friday night, drinking wine and listening to music. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Part of me wondered if it was Marcus trying to contact me again. But when I opened it, it was someone different. The message said, "Hi Amara. This is Nina. We don't know each other, but I was one of the women on Marcus's burner phone. I just wanted to say thank you. When his phone records came out during your divorce, I found out he had been lying to me too. He told me he was single. I had no idea he was married. Thank you for exposing him. You saved me from wasting more time with a liar. I hope you're doing well." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I smiled and typed back, "You're welcome. Be smarter with the next one." That night, lying in my own bed in my own apartment, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the pain, the anger, the fight, the victory. It had been the worst year of my life, but also the most transformative. I had discovered a strength in myself I didn't know existed. I had learned to trust my instincts. I had learned that I didn't need a man to complete me or make me happy. Most importantly, I had learned that I was enough. Just me. Just Amara. I didn't need Marcus. I didn't need anyone who would treat me the way he did. I deserved better. And now, finally I had better. I had peace. I had freedom. I had a future that was all mine to shape. Marcus had tried to destroy me with his lies and betrayal. Instead, he had freed me. He had given me the push I needed to become the strong, independent, fierce woman I was always meant to be. And for that, in a twisted way, I was almost grateful. But Tasha never got that redemption arc. Last I heard, she was still working at that car dealership, still trying to rebuild a reputation that would never fully recover. She had been exposed as someone who would sleep with a married man, someone who would lie to her fiancé, someone who couldn't be trusted. And in a small town like ours, that kind of reputation sticks. Sometimes when I'm out with friends, I see her across a restaurant or at the grocery store. She always looks away quickly, embarrassed. I don't look away. I hold my head high and keep walking. Because I have nothing to be ashamed of. I was the wrong party. I was the victim who became a victor. She was just the other woman who got exactly what she deserved. Looking back on everything now, I realized that anonymous text message that started it all was the greatest gift I ever received. It woke me up. It opened my eyes. It saved me from wasting more years on a man who didn't deserve me. I never found out who sent it. I don't know if it was one of the other women Marcus was seeing, or a friend who knew what was happening, or just some concerned stranger. But whoever it was, I'm grateful. My life now is better than it ever was with Marcus. I have real friends who would never betray me. I have a career I'm proud of. I have financial security I built myself. I have peace. And I have hope for the future. I'm not sure if I'll ever get married again. Maybe. Maybe not. But if I do, it will be to someone who deserves me. Someone honest. Someone faithful. Someone who sees my worth. As for the title of this story, yes, I found out who my husband's mistress was. And yes, I taught her a lesson she'll never forget. But more importantly, I taught myself a lesson. I learned that I am stronger than I ever imagined. I learned that I don't need anyone's permission to stand up for myself. I learned that justice is something you have to fight for. And I learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. Tasha lost her job, her fiancé, her reputation, and her dignity. That's her lesson. My lesson? I'm enough. I always was. And I always will be. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.